Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to Podcast Handstand, the gymnastics podcast that is solely dedicated to the recreational gymnastics world. I am your host, JR, and it is Wednesday, January 3rd. Happy New Year. It's 2024, and this is going to be a really exciting year. We got some really cool things coming up this year. We have the Paris Olympics this summer. We have a really important election coming up as well, and we have a lot more podcasts to go. So I am really excited about what we have coming up for the next couple months, and let's make 2024 the very best that we can. Hey, let's talk about a little feedback that I received from last week's episode when I spoke about common mistakes that young or new coaches make. One of those things that I talked about was the fact that especially young coaches aren't always comfortable speaking with parents. They don't introduce themselves to parents, they don't get to know them, and they don't give a lot of feedback verbally besides like skills testing. It's really important that as a coach, you are taking the time to get to know your parents. And I had some feedback from chalkbucket.com. This is a gymnastics forum that you can go on, and there are so many topics of gymnastics discussion, and it's a great support group. It is something that I highly recommend to everybody out there. If you love gymnastics, then give it a look. It's called chalkbucket.com. All right, one of the listeners on that said that she had a really negative experience with coaches not speaking to her. She said that she had her child at a gymnastics club for 3 months, and the coaches never even said hello to her and was never updating her on her child was doing, although she was there 3 days a week. She then went to another gym, and before the first class even started, the coach contacted her via email and explained exactly what was going to be happening in her class, introduced himself. That's exactly what I want to hear. You want to make sure that we're making parents feel welcome, because if you go into your favorite store, maybe it's Starbucks, and the employees don't wait on you or acknowledge you, it's not going to make you feel very good or make you want to go back. So remember that these parents are paying good money, and part of our job is to provide customer service. That's feedback. Get to know them. Again, it's only going to be to your benefit for those parents to get to know you. Okay, let's go and switch gears to this week's topic of conversation. I had originally planned on discussing why gymnastics is a great sport for boys, but after receiving several requests to speak about this next topic, I decided to switch gears. So this week, we're going to talk about why you do not have to have previous gymnastics experience in order to be a good gymnastics coach. And this is really important for parents to hear. This is important for all coaches to hear. And I think it's really important that everybody understands that the qualities of a good gymnastics coach are part natural, maybe some natural charisma, outgoing personality, but also it's part learned. Like we can learn a lot about how to coach gymnastics, even though we've never done it. So when I sit down and I interview a coach, I'm looking for a few things. I'm looking for someone who has a big personality, someone who's outgoing, has the ability to look me in the eye when they speak with me, hold a conversation, and someone who is themselves coachable and will be glad to learn new things. Take the initiative to go online and learn about skills and extra drills, not just relying on what we provide at work, but also be able to allow for any kind of constructive criticism that their managers give them. So let's talk about some of these things. First thing, I'm looking for a coach who's able to control a class. They can run a class efficiently. Are you consistently monitoring your class and everybody in it? And are you positioning yourself in an area where you can see everybody? And we talked about this before in a previous episode. Can you keep your class under control if it gets wild and crazy? Can you bring them back into that place? Basically, do the kids listen to you? And I think that most parents who are listening or watching this at home have had the experience of where they are sitting in the lobby and they're watching a class that is completely out of control. It seems that the teacher does not know how to handle all those kids, and they just seemed very overwhelmed. Well, we've all been there, and even the most seasoned coach can feel like that on some days, but are we able to regroup? And how do we do that? For me, I've been doing this long enough that I know if my kids have completely lost control and for whatever reason they are just not focusing, I will stop what we're doing. I'll set everybody back down and I'll just kind of review the rules. Hey, everybody, let's remember that we wait in line, we take our turns, we are always watching the coach, we're staying in class, and I'll just kind of refocus them. Okay, are we ready to start again? All right, let's try this again. And I give that as a moment to not only allow the kids to regroup, but so I can regroup and not completely lose control or get over frustrated. The next thing is, do you know the names of the skills that you are teaching and be able to correctly identify them when you see them? This is where a new coach, somebody who does not have previous gymnastics experience, is going to be at somewhat of a disadvantage, but these recreational skills are not difficult to learn. You just have to take time and practice naming them and identifying them. And hopefully, the gym that you coach at has a list of skills that each level needs to master. You can take that home with you and you can just Google each skill and you can learn it by kind of connecting the name with a visual. Go on YouTube. Do you know skill progressions? That's the next part. You know the names of the skills now, but how do we teach them? Well, the safest way and the most effective way to teach a gymnastics skill is knowing all the parts, being able to break those down and teach the individual parts. Do you know drills? And this is where a person who's had previous gymnastics experience is going to be at the advantage because they've had the experience of probably learning that skill. Now, you don't have to be able to demonstrate these skills, you just have to understand them. So, let's take a pullover as an example. A pullover requires upper body strength first because the kids are going to jump up and they're going to bring their chin to the bar. Next up, their hip flexor strength and core strength allows them to lift their legs up, and then directionally, which way are they rolling? They're going backwards over the bar to a front support, being able to hold themselves up to straight arms and a front support. Being able to know how to break that down and teach those in a nice, safe manner is what's going to create a great learning atmosphere. Now, when I have a class and I'm going over my stations, I will sometimes demonstrate those, and usually it's only because I'm in a time crunch that I will demonstrate. If I'm on task and I'm on time, I like to have members of the class demonstrate things because it makes them feel good. And it really allows me to kind of speak specifically about what we're looking for. And my back's never turned because the child's demonstrating. But I will and have demonstrated things. But if you are a new coach or you've never done gymnastics before, it is absolutely acceptable that you do not demonstrate. Get kids in your class to demonstrate, and then you can really very specifically review the important parts of what we're going to do in each drill. The next thing is, do you know the three different types of correction? There are three types. There's visual, there's verbal, and then there's tactile. And it's really important that each coach has several versions of a correction, visually, verbally, and tactile. So I'm explaining something, so I'm explaining it. That's my verbal. I will show or have somebody show, that's my visual, and tactile is me spotting and actually putting my hands on the child in order to make sure that they understand how they're supposed to move. And many times that's provided just to make them feel safer. As a new coach, I think that whether you are experienced or not, the spotting version can seem really scary for a lot of people, but there are some folk who just come in and they are naturally a really great spotter. They have the ability to move their hands fast, they know where to put their hands, and they're very comfortable catching a child if a child falls. So for some, it's going to be a little bit more of a learning experience. That learning curve may be longer, but everybody can learn those three different ways, and it's encouraged that you have many different ways to make corrections. Are you inspirational to your students? Does your class create enthusiasm for the kids? Do they leave class feeling accomplished? Are you able to bring your kids into class and at the end be able to look and see that they are happy and they feel like they really accomplished something special for the day? That's one of those things that just makes a coach that much more successful because those kids are going to leave, they're going to talk about the coach and they're going to talk about the things they did in class, and the parents are going to see how happy that class and that teacher makes them. And then finally, are the kids in your class learning? Hey, at the end of the day, this is gymnastics. It's a sport that we want them to actually learn something from this. Yes, we have mentioned in the past that gymnastics is not just about the flipping and the rolling, it's about all the social skills, but we do expect the kids to be learning skills. And if your kids are learning and they're advancing, they're doing it in a safe manner, you're teaching them good technique, you're a great gymnastics coach. You have nothing to worry about. So, for those coaches out there who feel like they have that imposter syndrome, I want you to sit back and I want you to kind of go over this list. Are my kids being taught safely? Are they learning? Are they having fun? Are they motivated? Does it seem like they're ready to be there every week? Well, guess what? You're a great gymnastics coach, and I applaud you. I hope this episode has really helped all those coaches out there who are doubting their abilities to validate that you are an amazing coach. Hey, at the end of the day, a coach is somebody who makes somebody feels very special. And if your kids are leaving class each week feeling like they're number one, then you've done their job. So hats off to all of you. I hope you have all enjoyed this episode. Next week, we'll be back with new content. We're going to talk about reasons why gymnastics is a great sport for boys. And until then, everybody have a great weekend, and I will see you next time. Take care.